Chapter 599. Can't chase him away, he's just a childhood friend. Peng Zhan looked at his daughter deeply before continuing with a smile. But I heard that Hao San found a powerful backer after that, and the whole family moved to Donghai. Hao San's business here has been taken care of by the eldest son of Hao San. Jiang Wen left the country and only came back recently. Meng Yao glared at Lin Yi. This guy didn't seem to care about her at all. He didn't seem to care about whether she and Jiang Wen were childhood friends or not. Wasn't he worried about her at all? However, Lin Yi's next words disappointed Meng Yao. Lin Yi didn't dwell on the topic of childhood friends. Lin Yi nodded. Uncle Chu, have you heard of a criminal organization that smuggles organs? They're called a kidney trafficking organization by the people. Kidney trafficking organization? Are you suspecting that Jiang Wen has something to do with this organization? Peng Zhan frowned, but after Hao San moved to Donghai, they started a business that was half black and half white. They changed their business path and accumulated a huge amount of wealth in a few short years. I'm a little suspicious. Otherwise, why would Jiang Wen remove Zhong Pingliang's kidney? Lin Yi said, but this has nothing to do with us. As long as he doesn't disturb us, it's fine. That's right. It's best to stay away from people like this. Peng Zhan nodded. Oh right, Yi, how did you get injured this time? I heard from Yao Yao that it was revenge for your classmate. Meng Yao called him earlier, but Peng Zhan didn't ask because it wasn't something that could be explained in a few words. He only asked if Lin Yi was alright. After learning that Lin Yi was recovering, Peng Zhan came back first. He hadn't known Lin Yi for a long time, but he could tell that Lin Yi was a man with a sense of propriety. Judging from how he handled the bank attack, Guanghua's incident and Ming Yao's kidnapping, Lin Yi was a man with a steady mind. Peng Zhan wasn't too worried since Lin Yi didn't go to the hospital and chose to heal on his own, which meant that he had confidence in himself. Meng Yao, on the other hand, was very vague about it, saying that Lin Yi was trying to avenge a female classmate. She didn't know that it was Lin Yi's girlfriend. Oh, I know. Shield Bro broke that Master Bing's leg out of anger because of his beauty. Yushu got really excited when the topic of violence came up. What a shame I didn't get to see Shield Bro go berserk with my own eyes. Master Bing? Peng Zhan, on the other hand, was taken aback as he looked at Lin Yi. The Master Bing she mentioned, is it Zhao Qibing? That's him. Lin Yi nodded. How did you piss him off? Peng Zhan couldn't help but smile bitterly. This Master Bing isn't simple. I heard that he's the illegitimate son of some powerful person. He's very powerful, even Xihua is his subordinate. Uncle Chu, don't worry. This matter won't involve you. If Zhao Qibing comes looking for you, just tell him to come looking for me. Lin Yi said straightforwardly. What are you talking about? How can I just sit back and do nothing when you're in trouble? Peng Zhan said angrily when he saw that Lin Yi misunderstood. Uncle Chu, you've misunderstood. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. What I mean is, if they come looking for me, I have the confidence to deal with them. If they come looking for you, wouldn't I have to deal with them myself? All right, but I won't just sit back and do nothing. Peng Zhan nodded. Evidently, Lin Yi didn't want to continue this topic, so he didn't say anything else. After dinner, Lin Yi and Faubert went to clean up the tableware. Meng Yao, on the other hand, was called to the room by Peng Zhan. After all, the father and daughter hadn't seen each other for a while. There must be some secrets that needed to be said. Yao Yao, are you busy with your studies? Peng Zhan sat on the sofa and asked casually. It's all right, Daddy. You know that I'm not that kind of nerd. Studying with Shu isn't stressful at all. It's just that I've been doing a little more exercises lately. Meng Yao was extremely smart and so was Yushu. The two of them passed through the 12th grade without any stress. That's good. Although we can pay for it if you want to go to a university, it's different if you go there yourself. Peng Zhan nodded. Yeah, I know. I don't want people to look down on me because of my family, Meng Yao said proudly. From this, it could be seen that the miss was a good person. She might be a little proud, but she was different from the other rich kids. Some rich kids were afraid that people wouldn't know about their family's wealth and power, and that they couldn't get into a university. Not only were they not ashamed of it, they were even proud of it. They would show off their family's power to others whenever they had time. Right, how's Lin Yi? He's by your side going to school and living with you. Is he satisfied? Peng Zhan asked casually. Lin Yi. Meng Yao gritted her teeth at the mention of Lin Yi. Daddy, this person is too hateful. Hateful? How is he hateful? Peng Zhan paused. He's a womanizer. He's my follower, he should be by my side all the time, but he got himself a girlfriend in school, causing a huge uproar. Meng Yao said hatefully. This kind of person isn't suitable to be a follower. His private life is a mess. Right, he just went to avenge his girlfriend. This kind of follower who doesn't listen to orders is a heinous crime. Ah, that's hateful. Peng Zhan couldn't help but shake his head. Looks like this Lin Yi really is a hateful person. Yeah, Daddy, you think so too? Meng Yao couldn't help but be happy that her father was on her side. Yeah, you're right. Peng Zhan nodded and said solemnly, if that's the case, I'll fire him now. How can I let someone as despicable as him stay here without worry? I'll go right now. Chapter 600. For Shu's sake, no? Peng Zhan couldn't help but smile, but when he turned back, his expression turned into one of surprise. What's wrong with you again? Didn't you say that he's a sinner? How can you not fire a person like that? That's right, that Lin Yi has a hard time finding a job, right? Maybe I'll just bear with it for a bit. Meng Yao found an excuse. Right, she pitied Lin Yi, so she didn't want to fire him. That's not a good idea, is it? I don't want my daughter to suffer. Peng Zhan said with a wave of his hand. Besides, there seems to be a lot of people looking for Lin Yi. It wasn't easy for me to hire him, so don't worry about him. I'll fire him and get you a new follower tomorrow. That's not okay either. Meng Yao said, panicking. Not okay either? Then why? Peng Zhan looked at his daughter, confused. That's right, this Lin Yi guy is a bit of a jerk, but Shu and I are pretty familiar with him now. Meng Yao finally thought of an excuse. Daddy, you know that I don't like strangers coming to my house. It's hard for me to accept a stranger. Besides, Lin Yi's clean, he wouldn't steal anything. I wouldn't be at ease if it were someone I don't know. Ha Yao Yao, your worries aren't unreasonable, Peng Zhan said with a smile. But it's fine, I've already thought of a good candidate. Faubert has a junior who used to be a bodyguard, but his employer left the country and he doesn't have much to do. Faubert introduced him to me, so he's a reliable guy. No problem. I see. That's not good, is it? Meng Yao said instinctively. Why is it not good? Peng Zhan asked. That's right, didn't I say that although I know this person well, I'm very repulsed by strangers. When Lin Yi first came, I couldn't get used to it for a while. What if I'm not used to the sudden change? It'll affect my studies. Meng Yao said. You don't have to worry about that. Aren't you familiar with Faubert? Let Faubert protect you and let his juniors protect me. Peng Zhan smiled. You should be familiar with Faubert, right? You won't reject it, right? He watched you grow up. Faubert. Meng Yao felt that Faubert was acceptable, but she didn't know why she didn't want Lin Yi to leave. Lin Yi is better. Why was it still him? Why was that? Didn't you say he was annoying? Peng Zhan was even more confused. Man. That Shu has a crush on Lin Yi. She would be sad if Lin Yi left. Meng Yao thought. She didn't want Lin Yi to leave because of that damned girl Yushu. It wasn't a secret that she had a crush on Lin Yi. What? Peng Zhan's eyes widened. He had expected some reasons, but he didn't think that Meng Yao would come up with this one. Shu had a crush on Lin Yi? Why was it Shu? Wasn't it Yao Yao? No one knew a daughter better than a father. Chapter 601. Abnormal, yeah. I believe you. Tang Yun didn't feel good about it, but she chose to believe in Lin Yi. If Lin Yi really did have something going on with them, then there was no point in stopping him. If there wasn't anything going on, then what was she thinking about? I'll tell you the details when we meet tomorrow. It's not convenient to talk on the phone today. You should rest early. Lin Yi saw Yushu tiptoeing over as he spoke. Her footsteps were light, but how could she hide from Lin Yi's eyes and ears? Tang Yun replied obediently. Before she hung up, she gathered her courage and said, I love you. With that, Tang Yun hung up the phone, embarrassed. Lin Yi paused. He smiled when he saw that the phone was already hung up. It was the first time Tang Yun said something like that, right? Yushu was a little disappointed. She saw that Lin Yi was talking on the phone, so she came over carefully to eavesdrop. She'd be living up to her title of Spy Shu 007, but Lin Yi didn't give her a chance. He hung up the phone quickly. Meng Yao had just sent Peng Zhan and Faubert off. She closed the door and came back to see Lin Yi hanging up the phone. Who are you calling? Meng Yao wasn't someone who liked to poke her nose into other people's business, but she didn't know why she asked. Tang Yun. Lin Yi answered straightforwardly. Oh, what did you guys talk about? Meng Yao asked casually. Lin Yi paused. The miss cared about what he said to Tang Yun? Don't misunderstand. Meng Yao blushed when she saw Lin Yi's expression. What I mean is, we're in a critical situation right now. There are people who want to do something to me and there are people who want to do something to you. I just want to confirm if it's really Tang Yun on the phone. What if it's a bad guy pretending to be Tang Yun? Meng Yao couldn't even speak coherently in her panic. Lin Yi was even more stunned. Did the eldest miss say these words? Why did it sound like what Yushu said? Could it be that the two of them had been together for too long and were assimilated? However, he still said, she didn't say anything. She just said that she was in the hospital. Oh. Meng Yao listened to Lin Yi and didn't continue asking. If Tang Yun says anything suspicious in the future, you have to tell me in advance. Maybe there's some conspiracy behind it. For example, if Tang Yun wanted to have sex with you, don't agree. From what I can see, Tang Yun is a very pure girl. He can't do something like that. There must be a reason behind it. Meng Yao was shocked by her own words. What the hell was she talking about? It must be because he didn't sleep tonight and was too sleepy, so he started saying some strange things. Lin Yi was a little speechless, but he still nodded. The people tonight were not normal. Yao was indeed Yao. Qibing's legs were quickly reconnected and the medicine was applied as well. As for his face, Dr. Kang's golden wound medicine was applied, so Yao didn't have to worry about it. Uncle Zhu's situation wasn't so good. Even Yao couldn't help but shake his head after seeing it. Yao bro, how is it? Uncle Zhu could tell that Yao was in a difficult position. Zhu bro, to tell you the truth, the situation isn't good. Yao sighed. You used your full strength to fight with that person. And the other person used his full strength too. That person wanted to continue attacking Master Bing, so I had no choice but to use my full strength. Uncle Zhu smiled bitterly. Yao bro, just try your best. It doesn't matter if you can recover to your peak. It's not a problem for you to stay alive, but as for recovering your strength, it depends on whether the head is willing to use treasures to nourish you. Yao said. If the elixirs keep up, I should be able to recover in half a year or so. But it'll be hard for me to break through again in this lifetime, unless there's some sort of miracle. I don't think about breaking through. It's good enough that I can recover. But why would the head use so many treasures for me? Uncle Zhu didn't think too much about it. He was sent to the common world to follow Master Bing because he had no hope of breaking through. Brother Zhu, you don't have to worry. You got injured because of Master Bing. The head of the house won't mistreat you. Yao said. Sihua has already asked the head of the house. I believe there will be news soon. Indeed, Zhao Guangyin had sent news that Yao could use some of the elixirs in the house to save Uncle Zhu. He did this because Uncle Zhu had saved Qibing's life at a critical moment. If he mistreated Uncle Zhu, who would dare to work for him in the future? Wouldn't that be disappointing? So, Zhao Guangyin naturally wouldn't do something as stupid as killing the donkey when it was no longer of use. The other news was for Zhao Qibing. Sihua ran into Zhao Qibing's room excitedly. Master Bing, good news. Oh? What good news? Zhao Qibing didn't feel much pain anymore. His mind was filled with thoughts of revenge against Lin Yi. He didn't dare to act recklessly since there was no news from his father. Boss, we found out that Lin Yi has nothing to do with any of the hidden houses. After the house sent out the wanted order, no one responded. This means that Lin Yi doesn't belong to any of the hidden houses. Sihua was still used to calling Zhao Guangyin boss instead of head of the house. This was because Sihua was one of House Zhao's business representatives in the common world. He was responsible for providing wealth to House Zhao. Because of his business, Sihua was used to calling Zhao Guangyin boss. Is that so? That's great. Since he doesn't come from any of the hidden houses, there's no pressure to deal with him. Zhao Qibing laughed happily. Finally, we can kill him. Master Bing, don't be too happy yet. Boss said that although he doesn't belong to any of the hidden houses, we shouldn't do anything to him. We should at least investigate his background. Sihua said. For example, if he's alone, if he has other disciples from the same sect or something like that. We can avoid unnecessary trouble if we kill Lin Yi. Chapter 602. Siwa's probing. Yes, Master Bing, I'll go ask Pingzhan about Lin Yi's background in a bit, Sihua said quickly. Hurry up, if Pingzhan doesn't listen, give him a beating. We have to figure out Lin Yi's background as soon as possible. I can't wait to kill him. Qibing urged. Don't worry, Master Bing, I know what to do. Sihua nodded as he wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. Also, what happened to my Qibing skyscraper? Qibing remembered the skyscraper that Lin Yi had flattened, and he couldn't help but feel humiliated. He had just completed his skyscraper and now it was flattened by Lin Yi. Wasn't this a slap to his face? Not only did he lose face in front of so many rich kids, but it also affected the progress of Qibing real estate. They didn't even have an office space, so how could they build a building? Although the demolition work wasn't delayed, there wasn't a single worker when it came to building a building. How could they develop it? The Qibing skyscraper is completely destroyed, there's no hope of repairing it. Sihua complained. This skyscraper cost him and Gubang a lot of money, and now it was flattened just as it was completed. This was a huge loss. Destroyed? Can't you build a new one? Now, immediately. Build me a new skyscraper. I want to see a brand new Qibing skyscraper before I leave the ward. Qibing was panicking. Without the skyscraper it would be a huge loss of face. Master Bing, how can a skyscraper be built that quickly? Isn't this a joke? A skyscraper is built from the ground and Rome isn't built in a day. Sihua smiled awkwardly. Didn't I give you some time? I'll be able to leave the house in a wheelchair in another 10 or 20 days. You have to build me a skyscraper. Qibing gave the mission. Master Bing, how can I build a skyscraper in 10 or 20 days? Isn't this making things difficult for me? Sihua smiled bitterly. 10 or 20 days is more than enough. I saw a video on the internet where a skyscraper was built in a few days. Fathers can do it, why can't you? Are you trying to brush me off? Zhao Qibing glared at him and barked. I'll give it a try then. Sihua had no choice but to bite the bullet and ask around to see if he could find the video and hire a skilled construction team to build the skyscraper. Go do it. Qibing waved his hand impatiently, sending Sihua away. Sihua walked out of the floating cloud a little depressed. He wasn't the owner of the bar anymore and everyone here had the final say. Master Bing was the owner's son, so of course he was more powerful than Sihua. However, he couldn't afford to offend Uncle Zhu and the Medicine King. Now he had become an errand boy. Sihua bro, what's wrong? Su Jiaoneng asked as he saw Sihua walk out with a solemn face. Stop asking. Let's go to Pingzhan Industries with me. Sihua decided to solve Lin Yi's problem first. This was a little easier than building the skyscraper. Even if the skyscraper couldn't be completed on time, he would at least be able to answer to Master Bing. All right. Su Jiaoneng didn't ask much and got in the car with Sihua, heading to Pingzhan Industries. Pingzhan was a little surprised by Sihua's arrival, but he didn't have too many questions. After all, he had heard from Lin Yi last night that the person Lin Yi provoked was Zhao Qibing, so Sihua was Zhao Qibing's underling. It wasn't strange for him to be here. Boss Li, may I know what brings you here? Pingzhan didn't bother with pleasantries. After all, they didn't have any business dealings and Gubang's scheme against him was planned by Sihua. So, Pingzhan didn't even need to pretend to be polite to Sihua. Mr. Chu, there's no need to say more about what I do. We don't have a good relationship, but that's fine, Sihua said faintly. We'll let bygones be bygones for now. Gubang has failed and I have no intentions of dealing with you. Then why are you here, Boss Li? Pingzhan didn't find it strange that Sihua was talking about his doings without hesitation. Everyone knew what was going on. Let's not beat around the bush. Mr. Chu, you hired a bodyguard named Lin Yi? Sihua wanted to complete Qibing's task as soon as possible, so he didn't waste time talking to Pingzhan. He came up with a strong stance. As far as Sihua was concerned, he wasn't Lin Yi's opponent, but he was a big shot in Songshan. Pingzhan was just a businessman after all, and there was no way he could be compared to someone like Sihua who was tainted with the underworld. That's right. Is there a problem? Pingzhan frowned. As expected, Sihua was here for Lin Yi. I do have something I need to trouble you with, Mr. Chu. I'm sure you've heard about my Master Bing being injured, right? Sihua asked faintly. What are you trying to say? Pingzhan asked back. Master Bing doesn't have any masters by his side. I wonder if you're willing to part with Lin Yi, Mr. Chu? Sihua was using a bit of a trick this time. He was testing if Lin Yi was injured, how serious his injuries were, and if his kung fu was still intact, Oh, I have a contract with Mr. Lin Yi. Peng Zhan said flatly. I see. Sihua cursed Peng Zhan for being a sly old fox. He thought that if Lin Yi was injured, Peng Zhan would say that Lin Yi wasn't fit to protect others anymore. Or if Lin Yi lost his kung fu, Peng Zhan would say that Lin Yi couldn't protect others anymore. But Peng Zhan was talking about the contract. What did that mean? Was it because Lin Yi still had kung fu and Peng Zhan wasn't willing to let him go? Or was it because of the contract that Peng Zhan didn't fire Lin Yi because of Lin Yi's kung fu? There was no tone to his words and Sihua couldn't tell what Peng Zhan was trying to say. He immediately went to contact the people who were building the skyscraper. It wasn't possible to build the skyscraper in a few days, but 20 days of hard work should be enough to complete it. However, the wages were doubled. The price of building a house at night was naturally different from building a house during the day. But Sihua didn't have a choice. Master Bing had given him a death order, and if he didn't carry it out he might anger Master Bing. Sihua had no choice but to use the money he was planning to give to Guangyin. It was for Guangyin's son anyway, and Guangyin wouldn't say anything even if he knew about it. Today Lin Yi wanted to visit Tang Yun at the hospital, but he was called up by Meng Yao and Yushu early in the morning. Lin Yi, accompany us to the bookstore to buy some revision materials today, Meng Yao said. Ugh. Lin Yi suspected that the miss heard that he was going to visit Tang Yun at the hospital yesterday. Otherwise, why would she suddenly want to buy revision materials? One had to know that Meng Yao and Yushu spent most of their time at home during the weekends. What, do you need something? Meng Yao really didn't want to make things difficult for Lin Yi. Her father's words yesterday made Meng Yao even more determined to get a good result. However, under the exam-oriented education system, it was impossible to get a good result without revision materials. No matter how smart you were, you couldn't avoid the brain-twisting questions. Only practice makes perfect and you could deal with all kinds of changes. It's nothing. Lin Yi could only accompany the miss to the bookstore. Then why don't you hurry up and pack? Meng Yao's tone and attitude had returned to normal. She didn't have the abnormal emotions from yesterday. This made Lin Yi let out a sigh of relief. It seemed that he had thought too much. The miss was still the miss from before. After Lin Yi packed up, he left with Meng Yao and Yushu. On the way, he sent a text to Tang Yun, telling her that he would visit her at the hospital in the afternoon. Tang Yun didn't think much after receiving the text. It was already midnight when they returned to the hospital yesterday. It was only 10 in the morning now and Tang Yun hadn't woken up yet. She thought that Lin Yi would need to sleep a little longer. Which bookstore? Lin Yi drove the car out of the villa area and asked the miss in the back seat. Let's go to Shuahai bookstore? The one near the school. Meng Yao thought about it and said, eh. Lin Yi nodded, but his eyes fell on the rearview mirror of the car. There was a black MPV following them after they left the district. Lin Yi had seen this MPV before. Who else could it be if it wasn't Sihua's? He didn't expect that Sihua, who had been depressed for a long time, would start to play surveillance again? Didn't he know that his car had been exposed once? In fact, Sihua didn't want to hide from Lin Yi. He sent people to the villa area just to see how Lin Yi was doing. Yuchu dialed Sihua's number as he sat in the black MPV. Sihua bro, it's me Yuchu. Yuchu said hurriedly. I saw Lin Yi. Sihua had just finished his business. He hired a construction team to redesign the damaged building, and they were ready to start tomorrow. Sihua, on the other hand, returned to the floating cloud bar and received a call from Yuchu the moment he entered. He'd sent Yuchu to keep an eye on Lin Yi. He didn't know how Lin Yi was doing right now and Sihua couldn't get anything out of Peng Zhan. So he sent Yuchu out to keep an eye on Lin Yi's villa. Where did you see him? How's Lin Yi? Sihua asked. Chapter 604. Are you sure you're not mistaken? Wadash. Sihua was so shocked he almost threw the phone away. What? What did you say? Lin Yi's driving? Out with Meng Yao and the others? Yeah, what's wrong with that? Yuchu was just a small fry and he didn't know much about these secretive things. He knew that Lin Yi had crippled Master Bing's legs, but he didn't know much about Lin Yi's strength or Uncle Zhu's. Are you sure you're not mistaken? Lin Yi's driving? Sihua asked in disbelief. Nope, I even took a picture with my phone when they came out. I'll send it to you later, Yuchu said with certainty. He didn't know why Sihua was so suspicious. Lin Yi's like a normal person? There's nothing wrong with him? Sihua asked, unwilling to give up. Yeah, he's driving. What's wrong with that? Yuchu replied. Then send me the picture. Sihua frowned. This was strange. According to Uncle Zhu and Yao, shouldn't Lin Yi be lying on the bed about to die? How was he still able to go out with Meng Yao and Yushu? He could even drive. Okay, should I continue to follow them? Zhang Yuzhou asked. You don't have to. You can leave now. Sihua only wanted to check on Lin Yi's condition. He wasn't interested in what Lin Yi was doing at all. All right. I'll be leaving then. Yuchu replied. He sent Lin Yi's picture to Sihua and told the driver to stop following the car. And so, just when Lin Yi was wondering why Sihua had sent someone to follow him and Lin Yi was about to shake them off, the car behind him disappeared after a turn. Lin Yi shook his head. Lin Yi couldn't be bothered with them since they weren't following them anymore. Sihua wouldn't be able to do much anyway. Sihua received a picture from Zhang Yuzhou right after he hung up. It was a picture of Lin Yi walking out of the villa with Meng Yao and Yushu as if nothing had happened, and the three of them were in the car. The last few pictures were a little blurry, evidently taken when Zhang Yuzhou was following Lin Yi in the car. Only the rear of Meng Yao's Audi S5 could be seen clearly. Sihua didn't dare to delay and hurriedly ran into the back of the bar. Qibing was playing with his phone while Yao Wang and Uncle Zhu were discussing something in a low voice. Master Bing, Uncle Zhu, Mr. Yao, I have big news. Sihua said in a panic. Big news? What big news? Master Bing put his phone aside when he saw Sihua. He was reading a web novel called How to Pick Up Girls, imagining himself becoming the main character in the novel and dominating the world. Lin Yi doesn't seem to be injured. According to my men, he's out with Meng Yao and Yushu right now. Lin Yi is driving, he's no different from a normal person. Sihua said. Impossible. Qibing didn't say anything, but Uncle Zhu spoke first. I exchanged a palm strike with him, I know what's going on between us. How can he be fine? Uncle Zhu, I don't think it's possible either, but this is the picture my men just sent me. Chapter 605. Yao Wang's analysis, of course not. Uncle Zhu smiled bitterly. If it were me, I'd rather die than lose my strength. Only cultivators like us know how hard it is to cultivate. Strength is built up bit by bit, and losing it to a normal person is worse than dying. Even if there's a sliver of hope, you can't lose your strength. You're right. Yao Wang nodded. That's why if Lin Yi isn't an idiot, he wouldn't lose his strength. Or at least he wouldn't lose it unless he had no other choice. Or maybe he had no other choice. Sihua frowned. Right, could it be that he's recovered his strength? Recovered his strength. Yao Wang and Uncle Zhu both took in a cold breath. After all, Sihua's assumption was far too bold. It wasn't impossible, but it was too idealistic. What's wrong? Is there a problem? Sihua asked, curious at the exaggerated expressions on Yao Wang and Uncle Zhu's faces. The hypothesis you're suggesting is possible, Yao Wang said. But that's only in an ideal situation. First, if he's in a blessed place with thick pure energy, it's not impossible for him to recover his strength in a day. As long as there's enough pure energy to absorb, recovering his strength wouldn't be a problem. Of course, I don't know if there's such a place on Earth, at least I've never heard of it. That sounds like a fairyland from a TV show. It doesn't seem to exist anymore. Sihua shook his head. Other than that, the second method is to have a master from the same sect imbue Lin Yi's body with his own qi, and that's how he can recover quickly. However, this method had its flaws. First of all, it had to be an expert from the same sect. Because different sects had different cultivation methods, the true qi in their bodies was also different. If it was forced, it would only result in death. Secondly, while it could save someone, it wouldn't be a good thing for the master. Giving away the pure energy he'd worked so hard for would cause his strength to plummet, and he might even lose a level. I don't think even blood brothers or father and son would use this method. Because the higher the level, the harder it was to cultivate. In order to save a mystic class master's life, the rescuer must be at least an earth class master. But if he gave his true qi to the rescuer, then the rescuer might also drop to mystic class. If he wanted to ascend to earth class again, he would need a lot of hard work. No one would do such a thing. Medicine King said. Sihua nodded. So that means that Lin Yi really did lose his strength? Or was there really no hope for him to recover? I've heard from Pingzhan that Lin Yi doesn't have any friends and that he's alone. There's no one to save him and he doesn't have any treasures to help him. If he doesn't disperse his strength, he'll die. That's hard to say. Yao Wang shook his head. In short, I think this matter is very strange. Yeah. This Pingzhan really doesn't know what's good for him. I've been beating around the bush for a long time, but I can't get anything out of him. Sihua said angrily. Alright, stop studying Lin Yi. What's the point of studying him? Whether or not he recovers, I'll deal with him. Master Bing was getting impatient. Since he doesn't have anyone to back him up, I'll make sure he dies in front of me. And this Pingzhan, does it mean that he's going to protect Lin Yi no matter what? I wasn't planning to deal with him immediately, but since he doesn't know what's good for him, then I'll deal with him as well. That's true. Sihua nodded after hearing Master Bing's words. Mr. Yao, Uncle Zhu, how do we deal with Lin Yi? Lil Brother Zhu's condition won't be able to recover within a year and a half, so don't worry about him. Yao Wang said. But even if Lil Brother Zhu recovers, I don't recommend fighting Lin Yi head-on. Oh? Yao Wang, aren't you a mystic as well? You're not afraid of Lin Yi, are you? You and Uncle Zhu working together can't take down Lin Yi? Qibin asked. Master Bing, I'm a mystic, yes, but my mystic class is a bit special. Yao Wang smiled bitterly. Although I'm a mystic as well, I used medicine to increase my strength. It's different from a master who uses pure qi from heaven and earth to increase his strength. Moreover, the mental cultivation method that I'm cultivating is of a supplementary nature. Its main purpose is to save people and not attack. So that's how it is. Master Bing nodded, but he felt wronged. If that's the case, then how do we deal with Lin Yi? Can't we do anything to him now that he's a normal person? That's not true. No one can be sure if Lin Yi is a normal person or not. What if he has an ancient miracle medicine? Eating one would be equivalent to half a year's worth of recovery. Who knows, he might even recover his strength. Yao Wang shook his head. There's such a miracle medicine? Qibin's eyes widened. The world is big, nothing is too strange. Yao Wang said. Although it sounds a bit scary, I've read about similar medicines in some ancient books. They're called the Great Recovery Pill and the Minor Recovery Pill. The Great Recovery Pill allows an injured person to recover to their peak in an instant, and the Minor Recovery Pill allows the injury to heal quickly, but the strength has to be recovered bit by bit. Of course, this miracle medicine is only a legend. It's hard to say whether or not it exists. But what if Lin Yi has it? If we fight him head-on, we'll be at a disadvantage. Makes sense. Sihua nodded. Fuck, then wouldn't we be holding back? Qibin was very unhappy after hearing Yao Wang's analysis. Wasn't this toying with them? Why don't we deal with Pingzhan first? Sihua suddenly had an idea. Since we can't deal with Lin Yi directly, why don't we start with Pingzhan? We can also test Lin Yi's strength this way. If Lin Yi really recovers, he'll definitely jump out. If Lin Yi is a normal person, he won't be able to get involved. That's right. Qibin was energized. That's right, we can deal with Pingzhan first. Let's think about how to deal with him. Chapter 606. Chapter 606. Ruin his reputation. That's right, you guys take a break first. Sihua, what do you think we should do next? Qibing asked. Sihua fell into deep thought. We should choose to strike Pingzhan's weakest point where it's the easiest to hit him. That way we'll be able to quickly test out Pingzhan's bottom line, and see if Lin Yi has recovered his strength. Fuck, it'd be great if we could deal with both Pingzhan and Lin Yi at the same time. I can't take it anymore. Qibing's temper had been pretty bad these days after all. Lying in bed with a broken leg was a very uncomfortable thing to do. Pingzhan Industries has a lot of businesses. We should target the weakest one, the one that's the easiest to deal with. Sihua said in a deep voice. Master Bing didn't disturb him. After all, Qibing wasn't as familiar with Pingzhan Industries as Sihua was. He didn't even know what kind of businesses Pingzhan Industries had. He could only wait for Sihua to come up with a plan. Su Jiaonong, come in. Sihua couldn't think of anything by himself, so he called Su Jiaonong in. But Su Jiaonong wasn't a very skillful man. He wasn't even as good as Sihua when it came to scheming. The two discussed for a long time but couldn't come up with a plan. It pissed Qibing off. You two pieces of trash. You can't even do something this simple. Keep thinking. I don't believe that we can't deal with one Pingzhan. Master Bing, please calm down. Jianong said carefully. Tiwa bro, why don't we call Jin Gubong and Zhong Fabai over? Jin Gubong used to work for Pingshan Industries and he knows them far better than we do. Plus, Zhong Fabai seems to be quite a devious, there's strength in numbers. What do you think, Master Bing? Alright Sihua, hurry up and call Jin Gubong and Fabai to tell them to come over. Master Bing agreed without hesitation. He didn't want to wait any longer. He wanted to take revenge on Lin Yi. Jin Gubong and Zhong Fabai heard that Master Bing wanted to see them, so they rushed over immediately. They knew that Lin Yi had injured Uncle Zhu and crippled Master Bing's leg, but they didn't think that Lin Yi could live for long. Who is Master Bing? Lin Yi actually broke his opposite leg, why would Master Bing let him off? So when Sihua told them about Master Bing's plan to deal with Lin Yi and Pingshan Industries, they knew that their guess was correct. I'm good at dealing with Pingshan, Gubong said. If we're talking about something that can attract the attention of the media and ruin Pingshan Industries' reputation, we can start with the schools. School? Fourth school? Sihua paused. That's right, it's the school. Gubong said, nowadays if something happens to the students in the school, it'll be a big deal. The media won't stop until they're dead and the public's opinion will be one-sided. They'll say that Pingshan is a black-hearted businessman who dared to target the students. Even if they want to salvage the situation, it'll depend on what it is. What we need to do is create an accident that they can't salvage and we'll be able to achieve our goal. That's right. Sihua's eyes lit up. That's right, if something were to happen to Pingshan's school, the parents wouldn't just let it go. It'd be a headache. But what could cause a school to go wrong? Continue, what should we do? Qibing nodded approvingly. It seemed that he didn't take Gubong in for nothing. If we cause a school to go wrong, naturally we'll cause problems for the students. Gubong said. For example, if a building collapses and kills a few students, or if a gang goes to the school and kills a few students, or if there's a teacher who's a monster hitting or even molesting the students, etc., these are all things that can destroy a school's reputation in no time. But what you're saying isn't very realistic. Qibing frowned. A building collapses? Do you dare be like Lin Yi and destroy a building? If it's a gang, do you want our people to do it? Wouldn't we be dragged into this? As for the monster teacher, don't even think about it. It's basically impossible. No matter how much money you give them, they won't risk their lives to commit crimes. Gubong laughed dryly, a little embarrassed. I'm just giving examples. Let's continue our discussion. Master Bing, I wonder if this Mr. Yao Wang is an expert in poison as well as saving lives? Fabai, who'd been silent all this time, suddenly spoke up. Poison? Of course, Yao Wang is an expert in all kinds of pharmacology. Poison is a piece of cake for him. Qibing nodded. Master Bing, why don't we poison them? If a student gets food poisoning, it won't be a small matter. Fabai said, food poisoning. This can be attributed to the school's poor supervision, or it can be twisted to say that Pingshan Industries is too evil. They sold expired junk food to the students and caused the students to be poisoned. If they're not careful, they might even poison Lin Yi or Meng Yao to death. That would be killing two birds with one stone. Brilliant. How wonderful. Old Zhong, you're not bad at all. Zhao Qibing listened to Fabai's idea and praised it. That's a good idea, let's do it. Yao Wang, make a poison as soon as possible and poison the cafeteria of 4th High. Poison is easy, but who's going to do it? Moreover, if he poisoned it, would it be discovered by others? That's the key. Yao Wang was naturally an expert in poison, but that wasn't what he was concerned about. That's a problem. Right, old Zhong, isn't your son in 4th High? Why don't you let him do it? Qibing glanced at Fabai and said. Fabai was taken aback and jumped in fright. How could he let his son do something like this? If this was exposed, he'd have to go to jail. He only had one son and he was missing a kidney. How could he let him take the risk? He quickly said, Master Bing, that's not a good idea. Let my son do this. What, you're not willing? Master Bing frowned. Are you afraid that I won't give you any benefits? Chapter 607. Chapter 607, Getting Close to Guan Exa. Oh, that's what you're talking about. We'll just find a scapegoat when the time comes. Master Bing said faintly as he looked at Gubong and Sihua. Do you have anyone who can take the blame? I do, but I don't have any connections with Pingshan Industries. The police might not believe me even if I get them to take the blame. Sihua said, troubled. Master Bing, I do have someone who's a distant relative of mine. He's the type of person who values money more than his life. Gubang said after some thought. Most importantly, he has some history with Pingzhan. Yes, that's right. It's decided then. Yao Wang will make the poison and Pin Liang will poison it. Gubang's distant relative will be the scapegoat if something goes wrong. Master Bing was getting impatient. Yao Wang, it's best if you make a rare poison that's hard to detoxify, and the hospital won't be able to detect it. That's the only way to ruin Pingzhan Industries' reputation. Otherwise, if they find out that someone poisoned Pingzhan Industries, it won't affect Pingzhan as much. Don't worry, Master Bing. Yao Wang said confidently. There aren't many people in this world who can detoxify the poison I make. Since I'm called Yao Wang, I naturally have a deep understanding of pharmacology. I've never lost to anyone in my life, other than one person. But that person disappeared more than 10 years ago. Yao Wang naturally had the right to be arrogant. If Yao Wang said he was number 2 amongst all the famous doctors of the hidden houses, then no one would dare say they were number 1. This was also why he was able to save Uncle Zhu even after he was injured. Yes, that's good. Master Bing knew how powerful Yao Wang was. We'll carry out this plan after Pin Liang is discharged. Old Zhong, don't worry too much. I won't mistreat you. Isn't Pin Liang missing a kidney? I'll help him research a compatible kidney source in the next few days and then install it for him. Thank you, Master Bing. Fabai was overjoyed. Pin Liang's loss of a kidney had always been a thorn in his side, and Master Bing was here to help him find a new kidney. It couldn't be any better. Lin Yi naturally didn't know that Master Bing had started to deal with him, but even if he knew, he would just laugh it off. Medicine King? He even used Dr. Kang's medicine to treat his injuries. How dare he call himself the king of medicine? Why are there so many people with big faces in this world? Nothing was too strange in this world. Lin Yi parked the car downstairs of Shuahai bookstore and accompanied the 2 ladies into the bookstore. Meng Yao and Yushu went to the high school information section. Lin Yi wasn't too interested in stuff like that. Even if he couldn't get into a university, Pengzhan would still send him to one of Meng Yao's. Lin Yi wasn't Meng Yao after all. He didn't care how he got into university. If he had the time to study every day, he might as well do some research instead. Lin Yi was busy enough every day. I'll go to the medicine section. You guys can find me there after you're done, Lin Yi said to Meng Yao. Oh. Meng Yao was flipping through the latest mock exam summaries from different provinces and cities. She responded faintly and didn't bother with Lin Yi. Yushu was also flipping through a practice book like Meng Yao, but after hearing Lin Yi's words, she waved her hand at Lin Yi, indicating that she understood. Lin Yi smiled and turned to the medicine section. This was where he met Guan Xuemin. Almost a month had passed in the blink of an eye, and Lin Yi and Guan Xuemin had established a medicine company together. Life was really strange. But surprisingly, Lin Yi saw 2 familiar faces in the medicine section. Kong Mingming had been in Songshan for 4 days now, and he was here with a difficult mission for his family. Hit on Guan Exen. He wanted to start with Guan Exen and learn about the recipe for the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing in Guan Xuemin's hands. Of course, he didn't believe that Guan Xuemin had invented the recipe. As far as he was concerned, Guan Xuemin was just like his grandfather, Dr. Kong, who'd gotten the recipe from some master by chance. He was a master at hitting on girls, and naturally he wouldn't rush to the hospital to give Guan Exen flowers or woo her. That would be too cliché, and he didn't think that Guan Exen would say yes. According to Kong Mingming's research, Guan Exen had never had a boyfriend before. Doing that would only scare her. And so, Kong Mingming wanted to create a chance encounter. He wanted to meet Guan Exen at a suitable place and get to know her. That way Guan Exen would let her guard down. But this opportunity wasn't easy to come by. Kong Mingming waited in front of Guan Exen's house for 4 days without a single chance. It was easy to find out where Guan Xuemin lived, and Kong Mingming found it without much effort. But while he waited for Guan Exen nearby and he did see her every day, he couldn't just go up and hit on her, could he? Guan Exen would definitely think of him as a pervert. And that wasn't something Kong Mingming wanted to see. Guan Exen took the commuter bus to and from work every day. It was a routine, and Kong Mingming had no chance to take advantage of it. If Guan Exen took the bus or taxi, he could still create a chance encounter. But he wasn't a hospital employee, so he couldn't get on a commuter bus. This made Kong Mingming very gloomy. He called himself the Casanova, but when had he not met his target after waiting for 4 days? Just as he was about to lose his patience, Guan Exin finally left the house. It was Saturday and Guan Exin didn't go to work. After leaving the villa, she took the bus to academic bookstore. Kong Mingming felt that his chance had come, so he quickly flagged down a taxi and followed her all the way to academic bookstore. When he saw Guan Exin go to the medical section, he started thinking about how to hit on her. Guan Exin naturally didn't notice that someone was following her. After all, she wasn't a criminal investigator, so there was no way she would notice that Kong Mingming was already not far from her. Guan Exin came to the bookstore today to buy some books about the doctor assistant exam. She'd majored in nursing when she was in school, but she'd also studied Chinese and Western medicine at the same time. Her grandfather was an outstanding doctor, and Guan Exin didn't want to disappoint him, so she chose a medicine-related major as her second major. Chapter 608. Kong Mingming strikes up a conversation. Guan Exin's decision to pick up this major and take the exam was all because of Lin Yi. She knew that Lin Yi's medical skills were on par with her grandpa's, perhaps even better. She was afraid that she wouldn't have anything to talk about with Lin Yi in the future, so she decided to pick up this major. She didn't tell her grandpa or her father about it, of course. She'd made the decision herself. Kong Mingming was regretting that he didn't spend more time studying medical books. He could have found a topic to talk to Guan Exin if he did. It was a rare opportunity. He came from a medical family, and this was the perfect excuse to strike up a conversation with Guan Exin. Unfortunately, Kong Mingming didn't know how to do anything other than flirt. Kong Mingming panicked when he saw Guan Exin flipping through a book from the shelf. How was he supposed to hit on her? Wait a minute. Kong Mingming had an epiphany. Guan Exin was just a nurse. She didn't know anything about medicine. Nurses, on the other hand, should be doing things like practice makes perfect, right? Needles, bandages, and so on. She didn't need to go to a bookstore to buy books, did she? So Guan Exin was here for. Kong Mingming looked around the medical section. There were quite a few girls as well, and one of them happened to walk past him. Kong Mingming clearly saw the words on the cover of the book she was holding. Traditional Chinese Beauty. Realization dawned on Kong Mingming. So it was Traditional Chinese Beauty. Guan Exin was probably here for that type of book as well. Which girl didn't want to look good? Especially a cute and pretty girl like Guan Exin. She wanted to look even prettier. Kong Mingming felt more confident at that thought. He didn't know anything about medicine, but Guan Exin might not know either. As long as he made it sound more professional and reliable, Guan Exin wouldn't be able to tell if he was telling the truth or not. Not to mention that there were many books out there that were full of lies. What was written might not even be right, and some of them even contradicted each other. Kong Mingming gritted his teeth, strode over and said with a smile, "Beautiful lady, are you reading beauty books?" Guan Exin's book was open, so Kong Xiaoming couldn't see the cover. He had no idea what Guan Exin was reading, so he asked arrogantly. "Oh." Guan Exin raised her head to look at Kong Mingming. She didn't recognize him, so she ignored him and continued reading her book. Many of the things in these books are lies. I happen to have nothing to do today, so I'll tell you how to use Chinese medicine to make you look good. Kong Mingming said confidently, "Let me introduce myself. I'm Kong Mingming, the grandson of Dr. Kong." Dr. Kong? Guan Exin paused. She'd heard of Dr. Kong before, the famous golden creation. She'd often be asked if the hospital had Dr. Kang's golden creation when she was bandaging patients. But Guan Exin didn't have any special feelings towards Dr. Kong. She'd only heard of him. "Yeah, our Kong family is a family of Chinese medicine. Usually I won't casually comment on these Chinese medicine beauty books, but after seeing you today, I really can't help but say a few words." Kong Mingming thought that Guan Exin was shocked by Dr. Kang's name, so he continued to speak proudly. "If you follow these scammers' books to make you look good, then you'll definitely be disfigured. I can't bear to see someone as beautiful as you be destroyed, so I have to say something." "Oh." Guan Exin frowned, annoyed by Kong Mingming's incessant chatter. "No need, I don't want to have my beauty done either." "How can you do that? You're so beautiful. If you don't know how to take care of yourself, then your beauty will only last for a short time. Kong Mingming said, think about it, you're so beautiful now because you're young and invincible, but in a few years, you'll be old and your pearls will turn yellow. What then? Guan Xin glared at Kong Mingming, wondering why this guy was talking like that. Old and yellow pearls? Was he crazy? But Guan Xin had good manners and she wasn't the type to get angry easily. She didn't say anything even though she was displeased with Kong Mingming and continued to read. She thought that if she ignored him he'd just leave. But who would have thought that Kong Xiaoming didn't leave? He continued to ramble on. Our miracle Dr. Kang's family has done a lot of research on traditional Chinese beauty treatments. These are all common herbs written in these books, but they're actually useless. If you want to stay young forever, you need to take some strong medicine. For example, Lingji snow lotus, deer antler, tiger penis. Kong Mingming didn't know what kind of medicine was good, but since Guan Xin didn't know anything about it, he told her about some of the expensive herbs he'd heard about. Guan Xin couldn't help but blush when she heard the words tiger penis. She was a little irritated. Was there something wrong with this guy? Why did he have to say everything? But Kong Mingming didn't have any self-awareness. He thought that Guan Xin was moved by his knowledge when he saw her blush, so he continued, I still have half a tiger penis at home. I ate half of it last time and it was very useful. If you need it, I can give it to you. Kong Xiaoming didn't realize that there was anything wrong with the tiger penis. He just wanted to get on Guan Xin's good side, so he told her whatever he had at home. He did have snow lotus, but that was for the skin-beautifying golden creation. He wasn't stupid enough to give it away. Guan Xin couldn't stand the person in front of her any longer. She closed the book in her hands and was about to leave when she looked up to see Lin Yi standing not too far away. Her heart leapt with joy. She waved at Lin Yi. What a coincidence, you're here too. Kong Mingming was in the middle of proudly showing off his store stock when he saw Guan Xin walk away, to find Lin Yi no less. Kong Mingming's teeth itched with anger. The entire Kong family saw Lin Yi as their archenemy. Ever since Kong Xiaobo started hanging out with him, House Kong had been thrown into chaos. It was clearly a perfectly fine pill of life extension and toxin cleansing, but he didn't explain it clearly. Not only did he cause the Kong family to lose a precious pill, but they also had to eat dog shit. It was as embarrassing as it could get. Of course, Kong Mingming never blamed his family for these mistakes. He never thought that if it wasn't for the fact that his family didn't believe that Kong Xiaobo's pill was a miracle pill and Kong Mingming had stomped on the pill to smithereens, there wouldn't have been a series of events that happened after that. But Kong Mingming pushed all the blame onto Kong Xiaobo and Lin Yi, blaming them for not making things clear. Her eyes were filled with anger. Kong Mingming was shocked. What he said just now wasn't appropriate. Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. Wasn't it Guan Xuemin's company? It would have been better if he didn't explain himself. The more he tried to explain, the more he made things worse. No. I'm not saying Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company is bad. I'm saying that Miracle Dr. Guan was tricked by that Lai Changyi and this kid. They made him do some fake things. Kong Mingming explained incoherently. I didn't mean to insult you. How did you know Miracle Dr. Guan is my grandfather? Guan Xin glared at Kong Mingming. She didn't say anything about her identity. How did Kong Mingming know? I guessed it. Kong Mingming sweated profusely. Yeah, he was here to create a coincidence. He shouldn't know Guan Xin. How did he let it slip? You knew, didn't you? Did you approach me on purpose? What are you trying to do? Guan Xin took 2 steps back subconsciously. She looked at Kong Mingming cautiously. It's a misunderstanding. It's actually a misunderstanding. Kong Mingming was panicking. His performance today was below par. It could be said that he was below par. He was a master at picking up girls. How could he make such a low-level mistake? It had to be Lin Yi. Ever since he met this kid, he'd started to make mistakes. It wasn't like this before. When he first met Guan Xin, he was still a gentleman, boastful and knowledgeable, and Guan Xin didn't pay attention to him because she was shy. At least she wasn't as angry as she was right now. He didn't know that Guan Xin only thought of him as a passerby. She didn't care about him at all. Since he was just a passerby, Guan Xin had no reason to be angry at him. But now he was insulting her grandfather. He was insulting her grandfather and Lin Yi's company. How could she not be angry? Guan Exin wasn't a woman with a strong personality. Although she was angry, she only glared at Kong Mingming. Guan Exin, I actually know you. I've admired you for a long time. That's why I'm a bit infatuated in front of you. Please forgive me for saying something that doesn't make sense. Kong Mingming was indeed a master of love. After he calmed down, he pushed away his mistake with just a few words. Now he was saying that Guan Exin was too pretty and that Kong Mingming was infatuated with her. If it was a more vain girl, she would have been very happy and wouldn't have cared about his mistake. But Guan Exin only had Lin Yi in her eyes. There was no place for Kong Mingming. His words only annoyed her even more. She frowned subtly and lowered her head. She didn't want to see Kong Mingming anymore. Seeing that Guan Exin was ignoring him and lowering her head, Kong Mingming thought that his words made Guan Exin shy. Girls who had never had a boyfriend would always be shy. Kong Mingming thought that Guan Exin was the same. Besides, he'd already used enough strong medicine today. If he said anything more, Kong Mingming was afraid that Guan Exin wouldn't be able to handle it. Guan Exin, I still have something to do today. A friend asked me out. I'll be leaving now. I've lost my composure today. Although I had my reasons, it was still inappropriate. I'll come and apologize another day. Kong Mingming felt that he was really smart. Not only did he apologize, but he also made a concession in order to advance. He set up an excuse for their next meeting. This way Kong Mingming could go to the hospital to find Guan Exin. Chapter 610. What a fierce employer. Guan Exin didn't know what she was trying to prove, but she didn't want Lin Yi to misunderstand. Ha! I know him. Lin Yi smiled. He's a playboy, don't mind him. Guan Exin nodded, relieved. As long as Lin Yi didn't misunderstand. Guan Exin didn't understand why she cared so much about Lin Yi. Lin Yi had a girlfriend, what did she want? Guan Exin didn't know either. Did you buy the books? Lin Yi asked. Not yet, I was choosing when that Kong something came. Guan Exin shook her head. He said some weird stuff I don't understand. Ha, continue choosing then, I'll just read some books. Lin Yi took a book from the shelf and started reading. Meng Yao and Yushu went to the medicine section to look for Lin Yi after they were done with their revision materials. They saw Lin Yi talking to Guan Exin. What's he doing? Meng Yao was about to explode. Why was he messing around again when she couldn't even stop him? Why did he bump into a pretty girl in a bookstore? Shield bros flirting. Yushu took a closer look. She's pretty, not any worse than Yao Yao. What are you talking about? Meng Yao gritted her teeth. What do you mean not worse than me? This Lin Yi, he's pissing me off. Would he die if he didn't flirt? Oh, I don't know. I'll go tell Shield Bro to stop flirting then? Yushu asked. You can't go. Meng Yao frowned. She didn't want to yell at Lin Yi directly. She needed an excuse or he'd think that she was doing something to him. With that thought, Meng Yao quickly took out her wallet and stuffed it in front of Yushu's chest. Hide it. Just say that you lost it. Oh. Yushu stared at her boobs, confused. Yao Yao, it's not symmetrical. Hold it in for a bit, it'll be symmetrical when we get home. Meng Yao glared at her. Oh. Yushu nodded, feeling wronged. What are you doing? Shu and I went to buy books, how did you disappear in the blink of an eye? Meng Yao tried her best to sound angry. I lost my wallet, where did you go? Lin Yi was just about to finish his conversation with Guan Exin when Meng Yao's shout startled him. Who are they? Guan Exin jumped in fright as well. She looked at Meng Yao and Yushu in fear. These two girls were ridiculously beautiful, but they were so fierce that it was scary. My employer. Lin Yi shrugged and smiled bitterly. Have to go back. See you next time. Ah. Guan Exin was curious. Why did Lin Yi have an employer? Wasn't he doing business with Grandpa? Why did it look like he was the follower of the two misses? What the hell was going on? Although Guan Exin was curious, she didn't ask any questions. She wasn't a talkative girl, so she nodded. And all right. Come to my house some other day. Grandpa's still wondering when you'll be able to come. Okay, I'll visit when I'm free. Lin Yi nodded. Then tell Grandpa in advance. I'll prepare food for you. Guan Exin said, a little embarrassed. Lin Yi didn't hide it. Chapter 6:11. Shu to death. The miss didn't say anything during the meal. She lowered her head and dug in, wanting to finish the extra portion, but her appetite was limited. She couldn't eat anymore, so she turned to Yushu. Shu, go eat some more. But Yao Yao sis, I'm already full. Yushu said, holding her stomach. No, eat some more, your breasts are too small, you need to enlarge them. Meng Yao glared at Yushu, signaling her with her eyes. Yushu didn't know what Yao Yao sis wanted, but seeing that she wanted to continue eating, Yushu could only stand up and get more food. But Meng Yao got there first, running to the kitchen and putting the leftover rice and vegetables on Yushu's plate. Oh, that's a lot. Yushu was shocked. Hurry up and eat, your body is still growing, you need to eat more. Meng Yao said, seeing that Yushu didn't move her chopsticks. She lowered her voice and whispered, if you listen to me, I'll let you be my second wife. Okay, I'll eat then. Yushu was happy hearing that, so she made a difficult decision and picked up the chopsticks to eat with difficulty. Lin Yi watched Yushu eat all the food bit by bit and stood up speechlessly. It seemed that the idea of bringing food for Tang Yun was gone. Yushu finished all the food and couldn't stand up anymore, lying on the sofa motionlessly. Lin Yi told the miss and went to the hospital to visit Tang Yun. Meng Yao didn't have any reason to stop Lin Yi, and in fact she couldn't. Seeing that Lin Yi was full of energy, Tang Yun was very happy. She was worried about Lin Yi's injury, but it seemed that he was fine now. You're here? Tang Yun ran down from the bed in surprise. Are you feeling better? Lin Yi wanted to hug Tang Yun, but Tang Yun shyly dodged. I'm fine now, my forehead doesn't hurt at all. Tang Yin said as she moved away from Lin Yi, afraid that Lin Yi wouldn't be happy. This is a hospital room, there's a lot of people here, it'd be bad if Mom saw us. Lin Yi chuckled. I wanted to bring you some when I was cooking, but Yushu ate it all. And Tang Yun didn't want a meal but a thought from Lin Yi. As long as Lin Yi thought of her, she would be happy. She wanted to ask about the relationship between Lin Yi and Meng Yao, but she couldn't bring herself to do so. She was afraid that Lin Yi would think that she was petty. After a night of peace, the bold Tang Yun had returned to her original self. Without Meng Yao's provocation, it would be hard for her to do anything bold. It was embarrassing and shameful to think about it. Was she still the same person yesterday? Actually, I transferred to Songshan because my elders asked me to take care of Meng Yao. It's my job, Lin Yi explained before Tang Yun could ask. Lin Yi didn't wait for Tang Yun to ask and started explaining. He had to tell Tang Yun about this sooner or later, it was just a matter of time. Now that she had met up with the miss, Lin Yi told her everything he could. I've been living in Meng Yao's villa since the first day I transferred here. She rarely interferes with my personal matters, but maybe it was because I didn't tell her before I went to avenge you, so I pissed her off. Tang Yun didn't know what Lin Yi was thinking. Lin Yi told Tang Yun about his relationship with the miss, not hiding anything. After all, there was nothing to hide. Lin Yi told her the truth. Oof. Tang Yun calmed down after listening to Lin Yi's detailed explanation. After all, Lin Yi said that this was his job. He came to Songshan to take care of Meng Yao. Yeah, will you be angry if you know the truth? Lin Yi asked. I'm not that petty. This is your job, why would I interfere? Although Tang Yun said that, she still felt a little uncomfortable. After all, Lin Yi was living under the same roof as Meng Yao and Yushu. How could Tang Yun not care at all? It'll be fine when we get a dorm in university, Lin Yi said. Right, yesterday they said that you kissed them and touched them. Tang Yun was a little embarrassed. She paused and continued, and often. 3p. Lin Yi was speechless. 3p? How is that possible? If I really did 3p with them, would they let me meet you? That's true. Tang Yun wasn't stupid. If Lin Yi did 3p with the miss and Shu every day, they would definitely keep a close eye on Lin Yi. How could they let him meet her? What about kissing and touching them? Tang Yun couldn't help but ask. Didn't I tell you? Meng Yao drank my drink, so that counts as an indirect kiss. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Yushu, on the other hand, was drowning and I was performing CPR on her. As for touching her, it was during CPR. Really? Tang Yun asked, but she already believed Lin Yi. Yes, Lin Yi nodded. Then can you take off the bandage on my head? Tang Yun asked. Lin Yi was taken aback. Tang Yun's thoughts were jumping a little too far, wasn't it? She was just asking about him and the miss. Why was she asking about the bandage on her head now? Lin Yi didn't know that Tang Yun wanted to know if she was disfigured or not. If she was disfigured, Tang Yun was afraid that she wouldn't be able to compete with Meng Yao. Although Tang Yun didn't say it out loud, her woman's intuition told her that Meng Yao's behavior towards Lin Yi wasn't just like what Lin Yi said, that she went to take revenge and didn't report to her. Yesterday in Fatty Lai's villa, Meng Yao's behavior could be interpreted as jealousy. Of course Tang Yun wouldn't say it out loud if Lin Yi didn't say it. It should be done, let me take it off for you, Lin Yi said as he reached out to take off the bandage on Tang Yun's head. Tang Yun, on the other hand, lowered her head and looked forward to the moment the bandage was taken off. Lin Yi looked at Tang Yun's smooth forehead and couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. Chapter 6:12. Next time knock. I don't dare. Tang Yun didn't dare to. She didn't want her dream to be destroyed. How would you know if you don't look? Lin Yi smiled. This isn't like you. You wouldn't be this worried in the past, would you? Lin Yi was right, Tang Yun wouldn't be this hesitant in the past. She was a girl who took responsibility for her actions. Tang Yun glared at Lin Yi but didn't say anything. She thought, what difference does it make if I'm pretty or not? Not being pretty would save me a lot of trouble. But it was different now. If she wasn't pretty, would he still like her? However, under Lin Yi's persuasion, Tang Yun still walked in front of the mirror. She panicked and looked at herself in the mirror. She couldn't help but be shocked. The scar on her forehead was gone. There was only a shallow mark left. If one didn't look closely, they wouldn't be able to see it. This is new skin. It'll be different from before, but there won't be any difference after a few days, Lin Yi explained. Is it really that magical? Tang Yun couldn't believe it. She had 8 stitches on her forehead. Although Lin Yi removed them in the end, it was still a mess of flesh and blood. In just one day she recovered to her original appearance. Was she dreaming? There's nothing magical about it. Dr. Kang's golden creation can achieve this effect a long time ago. Lin Yi didn't think that what he did was magical. Dr. Kang's golden creation, how can my family afford it? I've never used it before, how would I know? Tang Yun was so happy that she was hopping around the room like a little bird. When she saw her mother come in, Tang Yun jumped in fright and almost fell down. Lin Yi quickly supported Tang Yun. Tang Yun fell into Lin Yi's arms. Mrs. Tang came to check on her daughter's condition, afraid that she'd be depressed. After all, Mrs. Tang hadn't seen Lin Yi's medicine with her own eyes. She didn't know if Tang Yin could recover. She saw her daughter and Lin Yi being intimate. Mrs. Tang coughed awkwardly. I'm going out for a walk. Mom. Tang Yin was embarrassed as she struggled out of Lin Yi's embrace, not daring to look at Mrs. Tang. She was pissed off that she'd fallen when her mother opened the door and walked in, not daring to look at her. This was so embarrassing. Did her mother think that she was throwing herself into Lin Yi's arms? I'll knock first next time. Mrs. Tang thought to herself, my daughter is all grown up now. It looks like I'll have to be more careful in the future. I didn't think about this in the past, but now I realize that my daughter needs her own space. Of course, this was under the assumption that Mrs. Tang liked Lin Yi. Mrs. Tang wouldn't be as easygoing as she was with Lin Yi. She'd be more than happy to ruin things. Mom, what are you talking about? Tang Yin said a little awkwardly. Those people were rich and powerful. How could her family be their opponent? They suffered losses and had no way out. But it was different now. They had Lin Yi to protect them. Lin Yi followed Mrs. Tang and Tang Yun to Tang Juqing's ward. Tang Juqing was listening to the radio and a rare smile appeared on his face when he saw Lin Yi. He was even more surprised when he saw that his daughter's forehead didn't seem to have any problems. Although Tang Juqing hadn't been to Tang Yun's room after she was admitted to the hospital, he knew how serious her injuries were. He saw his daughter's face covered in blood when they were being carried by the ambulance in front of their house in the shantytown. Chapter 6:13. Shu is going to die and it's done, Tang Yun nodded. It's fine now. Lin Yi said that he's here to take a look at your injuries. Heh. Tang Juqing nodded happily. What do you want me to do? Uncle Tang, just lie down and you'll be fine. Lin Yi waved his hand, gesturing for Tang Juqing not to move as he walked over to check on Tang Juqing's injuries. Tang Juqing's broken legs should be able to recover very quickly under the care of Chinese medicine. However, his neurological problems were still the same. That meant that even if Tang Juqing's legs were healed, he would still be limping when he walked. Lin Yi frowned. This wasn't a good sign. Even if Tang Juqing could stand up, if he tried to do rehabilitation training and limped because of the neurological problems, it would affect the recovery of his legs. If he continued walking like this, the newly healed legs might become deformed. Even if his neurological problems were healed in the future, the recovery of his legs would be different and he would still limp. What's wrong? Lin Yi, is there a problem with my dad's illness? Tang Yun had been paying attention to Lin Yi's expression, and when she saw him frown, her heart skipped a beat. It's a bit troublesome. Lin Yi didn't hide it and explained his thoughts to Tang Yun and Mrs. Tang. He didn't hide it from Tang Juqing because it wasn't necessary. Then what should we do? Tang Yun was panicking. But Tang Juqing and Mrs. Tang weren't too worried, and Tang Juqing smiled instead. It's fine if he's limping, it's good enough that he can stand up. It's better than lying on the bed, right? Tang Juqing couldn't be blamed for being optimistic. In fact, he had been lying on the bed for so long as he could stand up, he wouldn't care if he was limping or not. Being limping was better than being paralyzed, right? Mrs. Tang had the same thought. She didn't mind when Tang Juqing was paralyzed, so what if he was crippled? Originally, I wanted to wait until the end of the college entrance examination and let you go back with me to see my old man. Then I would bring back the nerve-stimulating medicine, but now it seems that there is not enough time. Lin Yi said, but it doesn't matter. I will find someone to send it over. How can I do that? Tang Juqing was flattered. Lin Yi had to trouble others for his sake. Pa, it's nothing. Lin Yi thought of Gooden, his childhood playmate. He hadn't seen him in a long time and now wasn't the time for harvest. He should have time. Dad, since Lin Yi said so, then it's settled. Tang Yun saw that her father still wanted to say something, so she spoke first to finalize the matter. Naturally, Tang Yun didn't want her father to become a cripple. Even if she owed Lin Yi a favor, it was her. She owed Lin Yi a lot anyway, so she didn't care anymore. After this small misunderstanding, Tang Yun had thought it through. Repaying a favor with her body was a good way to repay a debt. Since Tang Yun had decided to follow Lin Yi, she could let him do whatever he wanted in the future. Thinking of this, Tang Yun couldn't help but blush. Yeah, old Tang, it's Lin Yi's sincerity. Don't say anything. Mrs. Tang didn't care about her husband being crippled, but she still hoped that her husband could be like a normal person. Lin Yi took out his phone and wanted to call Gooden, but the moment he took it out, his phone rang. Lin Yi looked at the caller ID. It was Mengyao. Yushu's stomach was round and she couldn't get up from the sofa. At first it was a little uncomfortable, but it was bearable. But after a while it became more and more uncomfortable. Yao Yao, my stomach is so uncomfortable. Why is it so big? Am I pregnant? I'm so disgusted. Yushu laid on the sofa and whimpered weakly. How can you get pregnant from eating? Don't say that. Mengyao was watching TV when she heard Shu's whining. She turned off the TV and walked over. Yao Yao, if you can get pregnant from drinking soda, why can't I get pregnant from eating? There's probably Shield Bro's saliva in it. Yushu said with a pale face. Right, stop it. Mengyao couldn't help but feel embarrassed when the past was brought up. Did you eat too much? Do you want to go to the washroom? I haven't even digested it yet, how am I supposed to go? It's so uncomfortable. Yushu felt that her stomach was full and disgusting. In short, it was a mess. Wait, I'll go get some digestive pills for you. Mengyao was regretting her actions after seeing Yushu's discomfort. She shouldn't have let her emotions get the better of her. She didn't know if a person could die from eating too much, but since there was the phrase die from eating too much, it was probably possible, right? Mengyao panicked even more at the thought. She quickly went to get the pills. I'm not eating, I can't eat anymore. I'll explode if I eat anymore. Yushu couldn't eat anymore. Then what should we do? Mengyao didn't know what to do. I'm going to die. I'm going to die again. I don't want to die. Yushu felt that she was really unlucky. She'd almost died 2 days ago, and now she was going to die again. Yao Yao, why'd you do this to me? I'm not trying to steal Shield Bro from you. I told you I'd be the second wife. You still want to get rid of me? Yushu felt really unlucky. She'd almost died 2 days ago and now she was going to die again. But why would I do this to you? Mengyao didn't know whether to laugh or cry at Yushu's words. I don't like Lin Yi at all. Why would I steal from you? I didn't want him to bring food for Tang Yun, that's why I made you eat all of it. Right, Lin Yi? Hang in there, I'll call Lin Yi. Meng Yao heard Yushu's words and immediately thought of Lin Yi. How could she forget about him? He should have a way to save Shu, right? Lin Yi picked up Meng Yao's call and the miss screamed, Lin Yi, where are you? Come back quickly, Shu can't hold on anymore. What did you say? Lin Yi froze. Shu can't hold on anymore? What did she mean? Shu ate too much, she can't hold on anymore, she's going to die, come back quickly. Meng Yao said urgently. Okay, I'll go back now. Lin Yi sighed helplessly and hung up. Can't hold on anymore? Then why did she eat so much? She even ate Tang Yun's portion. Chapter 6:14. Yao Yao sis wants to assassinate me, yeah. Yushu ate too much. I heard that she's about to die from overeating. I'll go back and check. Lin Yi sweated as he talked about it. What was going on? There were people who could die from overeating in this day and age. Tang Yun covered her mouth in surprise. She couldn't believe it. Did you eat too much? Overeating? Yeah, but it's not impossible for something like this to happen to Yushu. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. I'll go back first. Right, I've already talked to Dean Qin about it. You guys can stay in the hospital for now. Otherwise, you won't have a place to stay after you leave the hospital. Director Qin of the hospital knew Lin Yi by now, and he knew that Lin Yi had a special relationship with Guan Xuemin. Since Lin Yi had spoken up, Tang Yun and Tang Juqing could stay in the hospital even if they were discharged. It wasn't like Lin Yi didn't want to pay up anyways. He had already paid a huge deposit. There was no need for Dean Qin to kick them out. Mrs. Tang was a little annoyed at the mention of this. She was discussing with Tang Juqing whether or not they should buy a house first. The houses in Shantytown had all collapsed and were uninhabitable. Fortunately, there was nothing valuable in them. The TV and refrigerator were bought when they got married. They were more than 10 years old and had long been worn out. It didn't matter if they were broken. As for furniture, there wasn't much. But since Lin Yi had arranged for them to stay in the hospital, they didn't have to rush to buy a house. At least they had to observe the market first. They couldn't just blindly buy a house. He didn't think it was possible for Yushu to be stuffed to death, but he still drove back to the villa as fast as he could. He saw Yushu lying on the sofa, moaning non-stop with Meng Yao beside her, holding her hand and comforting her. Yao sis, I really can't take it anymore. Why isn't Shield Bro here yet? Yushu cried. That damn Lin Yi, he's staying at Tang Yun's place and doesn't want to leave? I don't know what's so good about Tang Yun, she's so much worse than our Shu. Meng Yao complained. Cough cough. Lin Yi broke out in a cold sweat and coughed twice. Although Tang Yun wasn't weaker than Yushu, the key was Yushu's identity. Would Lin Yi dare to touch her? She was eldest Miss' best friend. How could there be such a comparison? Lin Yi thought to himself, if you give Yushu to me as my wife, I'll definitely bring her with me every day. Meng Yao heard Lin Yi's coughing and turned back to see Lin Yi. You still know to come back? Look, Shu is about to die, go save her. Lin Yi looked at Yushu on the sofa, relieved to see that she wasn't dead yet. He frowned when he saw the bulging stomach, wondering if there was a perforation. Shield Bro, you're finally back, sob sob. Yushu started crying. I feel so bad, Yao Yao sis wants to assassinate me. No one wants to assassinate you, are you hallucinating? Lin Yi turned to Meng Yao confused. Why would Yushu say that she wanted to assassinate her? Could it be that Yushu ate some poisonous food and was hallucinating? Meng Yao blushed. Hurry up and save her, don't ask so much. Lin Yi nodded, picked up Yushu and flipped her over. Her head was facing the sofa and he said to Meng Yao, help me open her mouth, don't close it. Okay. Meng Yao didn't dare to delay and quickly opened Yushu's mouth. Yushu couldn't help but cry out in pain. She thought to herself, why are you and Shield Bro trying to kill me? Are you trying to open my mouth and pull out my tongue? But she couldn't speak. What's your name? Meng Yao felt that Yushu's voice was similar to a certain voice, and she couldn't help but glare at her. Yushu couldn't speak with her mouth covered and she couldn't make any sound other than aw. Hold it, it'll be fine soon. Lin Yi took a chopstick from the kitchen and started poking at Yushu's throat. Yushu felt a wave of nausea and she finally vomited after being poked by Lin Yi. She hadn't digested her lunch yet and she vomited it all over the floor, but Meng Yao's hands were all over it. The miss wasn't disgusted at all, but looked at Yushu with concern instead. Shu, how do you feel? Yushu started vomiting and it didn't stop. She threw up almost everything in her stomach. Woo, it's so uncomfortable, but it's much better now, Yushu said after she was done vomiting. That's good, I was scared to death. Mengyao was scared as well. What if Yushu really died from overeating? It's not a big deal, I just had nothing better to do. Linny shook his head. You can't eat that much, why did you still eat? Yao Yao made me eat? Yushu felt wronged and she almost died. How could she not feel wronged? Why did you make her eat so much? Linny was a little pissed. This wasn't a joke and it was fortunate that she was fine. Mengyao didn't expect Lin Yi to question her with a straight face, but Mengyao was in the wrong and she couldn't refute. Yao Yao didn't want you to bring food for Tang Yun, so she made me eat it all, Yushu said honestly. Lin Yi shook his head, speechless. It was pretty much what he expected. These two girls were too good at messing around. Shu, stop it. Mengyao was a little embarrassed. You're very weak, go back to your room and rest. Oh. Yushu felt a little weak after hearing Mengyao's words. I can't walk, Yao Yao. Mengyao wanted to carry Yushu upstairs but she couldn't carry her. She hesitated and turned to Lin Yi. Lin Yi, carry her upstairs. Upstairs? Can I? Lin Yi pointed upstairs. Mengyao was the one who told him firmly not to go upstairs when he first came. I'll allow this exception, Mengyao said, just this once. There's General Weiwu. Lin Yi looked at the staircase and General Weiwu was still squatting there. Lin Yi didn't want Mengyao to find out that he wasn't afraid of General Weiwu, otherwise he wouldn't be able to explain himself if he lost something upstairs. Chapter 6:15. Elder Chu Ah? Lin Yi didn't expect Mengyao to let Weiwu squat by the stairs every day, knowing that General Weiwu wasn't a threat to him. Lin Yi shook his head. In fact, Mengyao made General Weiwu squat by the stairs to prevent thieves, not to prevent Lin Yi. Although she did guard against Lin Yi in the beginning, it wasn't necessary anymore. Mengyao had seen through Lin Yi's character. He wouldn't bring General Weiwu up even if she asked him to. Mengyao even hoped that he would sneak up and peek at her. At least that would prove her and Shu's charm. However, Lin Yi didn't go up. Although it was a little weird, the miss was stubborn. Why couldn't she win against Tang Yun? The miss pride took a huge hit. It wasn't the first time Lin Yi carried Yushu, so he didn't feel any burden. He carried Yushu and walked up the stairs. When he passed General Weiwu didn't even scream and moved to the side, lowering his head and not daring to look at Lin Yi. Mengyao humphed and glared at Lin Yi. She just couldn't understand why Lin Yi wasn't afraid of General Weiwu. In fact, when she asked Lin Yi to go upstairs to connect the cable, Mengyao had already suspected that General Weiwu wasn't a threat to Lin Yi. Otherwise, how could Lin Yi go up to the second floor? Until a few days ago when Lin Yi brought General Weiwu to look for her, it made Mengyao even more suspicious. Other than Faubert, General Weiwu couldn't even be ordered around by her daddy. How did Lin Yi get General Weiwu to go up the mountain? Because Faubert didn't come up and only Lin Yi came to the cave alone. General Weiwu was obviously scared by Lin Yi, which was why it went to look for its master for protection. Mengyao could see that. Lin Yi chuckled dryly, not replying as he quickly went up the stairs. Don't look around when you're on the second floor. Follow me. Mengyao led the way and led Lin Yi to a room. She opened the door and let Lin Yi carry Yushu in. The pink bedroom was very cozy. There were many pretty flowers on the wall and there were some plush toys on the bed. Lin Yi put Yushu on the bed, but Mengyao kicked him out of the room before he even had time to admire her beauty. Lin Yi shrugged, a little regretful. Not many people would be able to enter the Miss Room, right? After all, not many people could enter the Miss Room. Since Mengyao didn't let him look around, Lin Yi naturally wouldn't take the initiative to peek. He walked out of Mengyao's room and went downstairs. He cleaned up Yushu's vomit on the sofa and returned to his room. Lin Yi called old Lin and reported to him what happened in Songshan. Of course, there was also good news. He had leveled up. He was now at the early phase of the mystic class. Old Lin's attitude was still indifferent. He didn't congratulate him nor did he say anything else. He only told him to stay in House Chu. They weren't father and son, but they were closer than father and son, and Lin Yi didn't mind. Comparatively speaking, Ergudin's family was very poor. They relied on farming for a living and they didn't even have a phone. Ergudin always wanted to leave the mountains and see the outside world, and Linny promised him that he would bring him to see the world. He didn't know how many years it had been since he played with Gudin. The days of catching fish and prawns together were long gone. Even after he hung up, Linny was still immersed in his memories. There were 3 times in his life when he was the happiest. The first time was when he was young. At that time he hadn't gone on a mission yet. He was still learning medicine from his old man, training his body. He didn't have many missions a day, and when he was free he would catch fish and prawns with Gudin. It was a very carefree life. The second time was in the training camp with his teammates. He was the captain of the team and he brought the other 6 teammates to overcome all obstacles and stand out. That time was hard and tiring, but it was also the most fulfilling. It seemed tense, but there wasn't the danger of a real mission. There was only the trust and friendship between teammates. Second brother, third brother, fourth brother, fifth brother, sixth brother, and seventh brother, where are you now? Are you doing well? Are you busy with missions all over the world? Linny shook his head. His teammates had gone their separate ways after leaving the training camp, and he hadn't seen each other since. The third time was when Linny was in Songshan. Although he didn't know who his enemies were and there were always some small troubles, these days of freedom made Linny really happy. He hoped that it would never end. Of course, other than these 3 happy times, Linny also had a lot of painful times. One of them wasn't painful, but at least it was painful and happy at the same time. It was also a rare time. It was also during that time that he met Yang Huijuan, Armadillo, and Ning. It was also because of Ning that this time was forcefully erased from Lin Yi's memory. It was also the reason why Lin Yi chose to run away when he first met Yang Huijuan. Until now Lin Yi didn't know why he rejected Ning so decisively. Was it because of the huge power behind her, or was it because he couldn't give her a stable life? Lin Yi never thought that he would retire one day, and he didn't think that he would retire at such a young age. Lin Yi didn't know what his old man was thinking. He suddenly brought him to Songshan to do a special mission that would give him a lifetime's worth of food. This was a huge deal. Ling Shan flipped through the case files on her desk. The kidney trafficking organization seemed to have been a lot more restrained recently. Ever since the transit station was destroyed, they seemed to have become a lot more careful. However, they didn't stop their crimes because they moved their targets and locations to the outskirts of the city. In this week there were already 2 cases of widowed farmers being murdered. It was the same method, but the locations were more unpredictable. One of the 2 victims was a villager from Yazi village in the east of the city, and the other was a villager from Shinbu village in the west. It also suited her profession and personality, being more mature. Hello, I'm Ling Shan from the criminal investigation team. Ling Shan answered the phone out of habit. It was an unknown number and she didn't have a contact book. Ling Shan. A rough male voice sounded from the other side of the phone. I'm Chen Yutian. Chen Yutian? Ling Shan paused, frowning imperceptibly. What's wrong? Chen Yutian smiled bitterly after hearing the coldness in Ling Shan's voice. Ling Shan, I'm going back to Songshan tomorrow. I have a mission. Can we have a meal together? I'm busy with the case, I don't have time. Ling Shan rejected Yutian's suggestion. I see. Yutian sighed. Can we meet once? I really do have a case. Is there something important that you want to talk to me about? If not, I don't want to delay my work. Ling Shan said faintly. Can't we meet if there's nothing important? We're old friends, childhood sweethearts. You can't just not give me face, can you? Yutian said helplessly. Chin Yutian, please watch your words. It's true that we're old friends, but childhood sweethearts are out of the question. Ling Shan corrected him. Chin Yutian, I know what you're thinking. It's not that I'm not giving you a chance, it's your own fault. Who can you blame? Ling Shan, aren't you just making things difficult for me? You're one of the best in the younger generation of the noble houses, and you're already golden class mid-phase. I just broke through, when will I ever catch up to you? Yutian smiled bitterly. You know what I'm like. I've always wanted to be strong since I was young, and my man has to be stronger than me. Otherwise, do you think he'll have a good life? Ling Shan couldn't help but feel proud. Qin Yutian, I gave you a chance to challenge me but you didn't take it. I even said that you can challenge me anytime before I have a boyfriend. If you're here to challenge me I can meet you. If not then I'm sorry I'm not free. Lingshan, as far as I know, other than House Yu, Wu Qintian from House Wu is also a golden class early phase. Are you saying that you won't marry if there's no one stronger than you? Yutian couldn't help but ask. How do you know that there aren't any masters other than the noble houses? Lingshan asked back. She didn't know why but Lingshan suddenly thought of Lin Yi. She didn't know where that guy got his kung fu from, but why was he so strong? I don't seem to be his opponent. Moreover, I still have to humble myself and pretend to be Miss Braindead in front of him. He's really as abominable as he can be. But she was in his hands, unable to fight back. Was this still her personality? She was the Miss of House Song, and she was going to be taken advantage of by him? This was too humiliating. And so, Lingshan decided not to think about him. She couldn't think about him because thinking about him made her angry. Yutian was speechless. He didn't dare say that there weren't any masters outside of the noble houses, because he knew that there were masters outside of the noble houses. But since Lingshan didn't want to see him, there was no point in saying anything. Asking Yutian to challenge Lingshan now was the same as asking for a beating. He couldn't afford to lose that face. Chapter 6:18. Yushu's brother, right? I want to tell you a very unfortunate piece of news. I think I've reached the barrier to the late phase of the golden class and I'm looking for a chance to break through. Lingshan said faintly. If you want to chase me then work hard. Of course you can give up because I don't have much feelings for you. Yutian almost threw the phone away when he heard Lingshan's words. Late phase of the golden class. Was Lingshan that strong? How did House Song have a genius like her? Yutian took in a breath of cold air. If Lingshan could reach golden class late phase at such a young age, then House Song's position would definitely skyrocket, and Lingshan's marriage would be even more important. Who knew what kind of marriage old Song would arrange for Lingshan to get married then? Perhaps, if they knew that Lingshan had broken through to the late phase of the golden class, then House Yu would come to see her. Alright, I'll work hard. Yutian was in despair this time. The gap wasn't small at all, and there was no point in being angry. I'm busy, bye. Lingshan didn't say much and hung up. She didn't have any feelings for Yutian, so she purposely said that she was going to break through to the late phase of the golden class. In reality, she had just reached the middle phase peak and there was still some distance to the late phase. Lingshan said that because she wanted Yutian to give up. She didn't like Yutian's personality. She was a strong person herself, but she liked men who were stronger. It was only with men like this that she was willing to let him come to her. Otherwise she wouldn't feel comfortable. After failing to get a date with Lingshan, Yutian thought about his old playmates Jiang Wen and Su Taizao. The fourth young master didn't come to Songshan often, so he didn't get to see them often. Jiang Wen and Taizao had called earlier, wanting to hold a banquet to welcome him, but Yutian didn't agree right away. He asked Lingshan if she was free first. The four young masters of Songshan were nothing more than a joke to Yutian now. They were just a bunch of kids, relying on their family's power to think they were invincible. There was nothing to be proud of. Since he'd chosen the other path, the distance between him and Jiang Wen Taizao and the others would only grow bigger and bigger. Although they used to be playmates, they had become estranged from each other. There was no longer the feeling of drinking and fooling around together. The Yutian now was much more mature than before. And this was also because of Lingshan's rejection that he had no choice but to walk this path. Thinking about it back then was indeed very difficult, but now that he had walked over, he realized that his choice was correct. Only by doing what he was doing could he be considered a man of indomitable spirit. Although the four young masters of Mount Songshan had been awe-inspiring, what use was that? Those empty reputations didn't belong to him. Even if they did, they would be cursed. It seemed like the gap between him and Lingshan was getting bigger and bigger. Yutian smiled bitterly. He understood that with Lingshan's personality, normal men wouldn't be able to tame her. They weren't her match in terms of martial arts. Even if she forced herself to be with him due to her family's pressure, Yutian believed that he wouldn't be able to suppress Lingshan in the future. Just like Lingshan said, he wouldn't even be able to do it. His phone rang and Yutian looked at it. It was Jiang Wen. He'd already rejected the invitation yesterday, but Jiang Wen was still so persistent. Of course, Yu Tian knew exactly what Jiang Wen was thinking. He was inviting him to a banquet and he had to bring his sister Yushu. If his sister went, Meng Yao would naturally go as well. As Meng Yao's pursuer, Jiang Wen would naturally use this opportunity to get close to Meng Yao. He was just a stepping stone. Yu Tian knew very well that his life was getting further and further away from Jiang Wen. They weren't on the same path at all and their relationship wasn't that good at all. Hello, second brother. Yu Tian picked up the phone but he still called Jiang Wen's second brother. He was the second of the 4 young masters of Mount Songshan. Tian bro, how is it? Have you arranged everything? Do you have time tomorrow night? Do me the honor of meeting us brothers at Starlight Resplendent? Jiang Wen asked with a smile. Yu Tian's reason yesterday was that he didn't know the schedule yet and he didn't know if he had time. Alright, tomorrow night it is then. I'll contact you then. Yu Tian accepted Jiang Wen's invitation because he couldn't get a date with Ling Shan. Alright, see you then. Jiang Wen was overjoyed. As long as he invited Yu Tian, Yushu wouldn't come. As long as Yushu came, Meng Yao would definitely come. He never had a chance to get close to Meng Yao and Meng Yao didn't want to give him one either. Now he could officially invite Meng Yao and Yushu. How is it in bro? Is it done in bro? Taizao asked anxiously. It's done. We'll go visit Meng Yao and Yushu now and ask them to come to our banquet tomorrow night. Jiang Wen nodded with a smile. And bro, this is a good opportunity. I think you should use this chance to confess to Meng Yao. Taizao said. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. That's true. Do you have any good ideas? It wouldn't be good for me to confess to her, would it? Jiang Wen frowned. But you're right, Meng Yao's attitude towards me is a little hard to understand. She's not as friendly as she was the first time we met at the theme park. Is she blaming me for not pursuing her well enough? Maybe I should prepare some flowers for her tomorrow? That's possible, Taizao said. But forget about flowers. Girls all care about their face. You can't just go after her without doing anything, can you? But you can't be too intense and put her on the spot. It's like in many situations girls like you pursuing them, but they don't want you to force them too much. She enjoys the process of you pursuing her and she doesn't want to say yes right away. That's why kneeling down and begging is basically forcing people to make a decision. As long as the girl doesn't really like him, she'll reject him for sure. Even if she likes him a little, she can't just say yes right away. Chapter 619. Jiang Wen's visit. And so, Jiang Wen was thinking that if he were to confess with flowers, Meng Yao might really reject him outright. Their relationship would be strained like that, and it wouldn't look good if he tried to pursue her in the future. Then what do you think I should do? And bro, why don't you say something drunk? An idea came to Taizao. You drink some wine and confess your feelings to Meng Yao. If Meng Yao likes you, she'll be very shy and even want to make sure that you're just talking nonsense after drinking, or that you really mean it. Of course, if Meng Yao doesn't want you to confess, you can just say that you said something drunk. She won't hold it against you, right? It won't be so awkward when they meet again. That's a good idea, Taizao. But you need to help me out tomorrow. Jiang Wen nodded. Shall we go to Meng Yao's house now? Yes, and bro, don't worry. I'll create a suitable opportunity for you tomorrow. Just confess your feelings then. Taizao patted his chest as he promised. Lin Yi wasn't expecting Jiang Wen and Taizao to come at this time. Lin Yi frowned as he looked at the two. And bro, what brings you here at this time? Shu's not feeling well, she's resting upstairs. Lin Yi didn't know if Jiang Wen was here for Meng Yao or for him, so he decided to ask. We're here for Shu. Since she's sick, then we have to pay her a visit. Jiang Wen smiled. Taizao, go buy some fruits. Okay, and bro. Taizao picked up the car keys and left, leaving Jiang Wen standing in front of the villa. Wait a minute, I'll go ask Yao Yao and Shu. Lin Yi was just pretending to be polite to Jiang Wen, since he wanted to use him to deal with Pin Liang. He didn't care too much about him and just left him at the door. Meng Yao was already in the living room when Lin Yi got back to the villa, evidently having heard the doorbell as well. Lin Yi, who's here? Is it Faubert? No, it's Jiang Wen and Taizao. I don't know what they're up to. Lin Yi pointed at the door behind him. Brother Jiang Wen? Why is he here again? Meng Yao's tone was courteous, but it was clear that she didn't want Jiang Wen to be a guest at her house. How would I know? But they said they were looking for Shu. Linny shrugged. Yao Yao let them in. My brother will be back tomorrow. They're probably here because of this, right? Yushu came downstairs as well. She was behind Meng Yao standing by the stairs. I thought it was Faubert bringing food. I'm so hungry. I want to eat to my heart's content. Hungry? You're hungry again? You want to eat to your heart's content again? Linny was speechless. She just threw up and now she was hungry again? Eat to her heart's content again? He didn't know what this Yushu was made of. Did she forget the pain after the wound healed? Yeah, my stomach's so empty I'm growling. Yushu rubbed her stomach as she complained. I puked out too much earlier. It'd be better if I didn't puke out so much. Why don't you eat what you threw up? Meng Yao glared at Yushu, finding the topic disgusting. Oh, that's enough for the two of us. Yushu nodded. Meng Yao was about to throw up. She was quite hungry but now she had no appetite at all. Lin Yi went to open the door and Zhang Wen walked in with a smile on his face. He wasn't overly enthusiastic when he saw Meng Yao, only nodding to her. Yao Yao, I heard that Shu's sick? I'm not sick, Yao Yao just set me up. Yushu was interrupted by Meng Yao. She just has a stomach flu, it's nothing, she'll be fine after throwing up. Meng Yao wouldn't let Yushu talk nonsense. Oh, I see. Zhang Wen could tell from Meng Yao's tone that she didn't want to talk about it anymore. Shu Tianbro will be back tomorrow. Tai Zhao and I will hold a feast to welcome him. You should come too, your brother hasn't seen you for a long time, right? Yushu agreed without thinking too much. After all, she hadn't seen her brother for a long time. There was no reason not to go. Meng Yao was a little annoyed. Why did Yushu agree just like that? If she went, how could she not go? Didn't Zhang Wen invite Qin Yutian or him? Only Zhang Wen himself would know the answer. Yao Yao, you're coming too? Zhang Wen smiled. Lin Yi, are you free tomorrow? Meng Yao didn't answer Zhang Wen's question. She turned to Lin Yi and said, you come with us. Okay, Lin Yi replied faintly. Zhang Wen wasn't too happy about Lin Yi going with him, but Meng Yao being able to go was already good enough. He couldn't afford to cause more trouble. If he didn't let Lin Yi go, Meng Yao would be pissed off and refuse to go. That wouldn't be fun. He smiled. Ha Yao Yao, I was going to invite Lin Yi bro even if you didn't ask. We're good friends. Is there anything else? Meng Yao looked at Zhang Wen. Zhang Wen knew that Meng Yao was asking him to leave, but he didn't want to. He still wanted to stay a little longer. Let's wait for Tai Zhao. He went to buy fruits and Shu's sick. As her brother, we can't come empty-handed, can we? Oh, tell him to buy some more then, I'm starving. Yushu ordered after hearing that Tai Zhao was going out to buy food. Okay, I'll call him now. Zhang Wen's eyes brightened. He finally had a reason to stay a little longer. Afraid that Meng Yao would interfere, Zhang Wen quickly took out his phone and dialed Tai Zhao's number. Tai Zhao, Shu's hungry. Go buy some fruits and some dinner too. Go to a few more places and buy a few more dishes. Don't go too little. Zhang Wen's hint was very clear. As long as Tai Zhao wasn't an idiot, he'd know what he meant. He wanted Tai Zhao to stay a little longer and not come back immediately. Chapter 620. Chapter 620. Chu Pingzhan's phone. No rush, no rush. We can't rush even if there's a traffic jam, right? Safety first. Zhang Wen smiled faintly, praising Tai Zhao's teamwork. Meng Yao glared at Yushu, annoyed at her for being a busybody. Couldn't she have asked Lin Yi to cook for her if she wanted to eat? What was she supposed to ask Tai Zhao to buy? Now that this guy was here and not leaving, how annoying was he? Yushu knew that she was in trouble and she pouted. But she had an idea. She looked at the time. Zhang Wen only had 7 minutes left to flirt with Yao Yao. Zhang Wen kept on talking in front of Meng Yao and Meng Yao kept on talking to him. Lin Yi naturally didn't feel like staying here any longer and went back to his room. Zhang Wen wouldn't be able to do anything in the villa, and Lin Yi didn't have to keep an eye on him. Oh, it's time for the cartoon. Today's Saturday, the theatrical version of Happy Goat and Big Big Wolf. Yushu jumped up from the sofa and turned on the TV, changing the channel with the remote. As expected, the familiar music of Happy Goat and Big Big Wolf came from the TV. Zhang Wen had long since gotten used to Yushu's crazy personality. Yushu was pretty, but who could resist a personality like that? Luckily the one he liked was Meng Yao. Otherwise he'd be screwed if he got together with Yushu. Zhang Wen ignored Yushu and kept on talking to Meng Yao. Hey, stop talking, I can't hear you. Yushu waved her hand at Jiangwen impatiently. Why are you so rude? They're watching TV. Jiangwen was about to explode. What did his words have to do with Yushu? But he couldn't afford to piss Yushu off, so he didn't dare talk back. First of all, Yushu was from House Qin, a noble house's descendant. Even if he had the backing of the Fire Wolf gang, he couldn't represent the Fire Wolf gang. He also didn't have the guts to go against the Qin family. Secondly, Yushu was still Mingyao's best friend even if the Fire Wolves were to support him. If he pissed her off, he'd never be able to pursue Mingyao in the future. Yao Yao, let's talk over there? Jiangwen held in his breath, still maintaining the smile on his face as he pointed at the restaurant. I want to watch the cartoon too, I haven't seen this episode yet. Mingyao pointed at the TV. Watch it with us. Wah. Jiangwen almost jumped up from his seat. How old was he? Watching cartoons. If word of this got out, wouldn't he be laughed at to death? This was the first time Mingyao invited him to do something with her. Watching TV was like watching a movie, wasn't it? He'd just take it as Mingyao asking him to watch a movie. With that thought, Jiangwen calmed down. Sure, let's watch it together then. Watching cartoons, of course, meant that he couldn't talk. Jiangwen hadn't watched this series before and he couldn't focus on it at all. He could only sit there and watch. He felt that time was getting too long. Why wasn't this Taizao back yet? He'd be able to get out of this situation if he came back. What a blunder. If he knew that Yushu wanted to watch cartoons, he wouldn't have stayed here. He might as well just leave. Jiangwen couldn't take it anymore and went outside to call Taizao. Where are you? Why aren't you back yet? Buying food for a year? And bro, didn't you tell me to go back later? Taizao had parked his car by the roadside, leisurely smoking as he enjoyed the night view. Jiangwen's shout startled him. Alright, hurry up and come back. Hurry up. Jiangwen said, a little troubled. Yao Yao. I'm good, aren't I? Yushu said proudly. At least you're smart. Otherwise, I'd be annoyed to death by him. Mingyao felt that her best friend wasn't stupid at all. In fact, she was very smart. It was just that her way of expressing herself was a little different. Taizao came back soon with a bunch of fruits and bento. Yushu invited Jiangwen to watch TV and eat together, but Jiangwen shamelessly rejected her. He couldn't take it anymore. What was the point of staying here if he couldn't talk to Mingyao? Go get Linyi and tell him to eat with us. Mingyao opened the bento Taizao bought and placed it on the coffee table after Jiangwen and Taizao left. Taizao had bought a total of 5 bento boxes, all of them quite high quality. It shouldn't be cheap and he and Jiangwen were included as well. Of course they wouldn't be able to eat it. Oh. Yushu was salivating as she looked at the bento on the coffee table. She didn't even want to stand up. She wanted to eat it right away. Mingyao saw that Yushu wasn't reacting and sighed helplessly. She got up and called Lin Yi, knocking on Lin Yi's door twice. Lin Yi, come eat. Mingyao didn't know why she had to call Lin Yi. Perhaps it was because he cooked for her and Shu every day and she couldn't just call him when she was eating? That would be too ungrateful. They're gone. Lin Yi was lying on the bed, texting Tang Yin, telling her that he'd contacted Air Gooden and that the medicine would be here soon. He told her not to worry about Juqing's injuries. Let's go. Taizao bought some bento. Do you want some? Mingyao pointed at the bento on the coffee table. Yeah, we don't have to prepare dinner tonight anyway. Lin Yi walked out with Mingyao. Faubert usually wouldn't bring food over on Saturdays, so Lin Yi had to think of ways to solve the problem. When Lin Yi sat on the sofa, Yushu was almost done with the bento box. She didn't look like she was going to stop. Don't eat too much or you'll die from overeating, Lin Yi reminded. No more. Mingyao was worried that Yushu would get into trouble again. She put away the 2 bento boxes, afraid that Yushu would eat them too. Oh, okay. Yushu felt wronged, but she didn't dare disobey. She didn't want to overeat again. After dinner, Lin Yi cleaned up the bento boxes and put the remaining 2 in the fridge. He'd heat them up for breakfast tomorrow. After he was done, he got a call from Pingzhan. Uncle Chu? Lin Yi picked up. What's up? Yeah, 2 things. Pingzhan said. Yao Yao isn't with you, is she? Is it convenient to talk? You're tuning in to the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.